Hi, it's me. Yes, I'm on my way. I am cutting it very close. I mean, I'll be there sharp or 5 minutes late. So, drag it out if you can. Yes, see you soon. Ciao. Yeah, it's totally stuck, huh? It's the tunnel, right? Okay. Do you know what? I'm gonna have to get out here. So, yes. Keep the change. I'm actually just gonna jump out. Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Have a good day.
Now look up to the ceiling. Good, perfect. I changed your face a little, and you changed the face of New York.
Perfect teamwork.
Yes.
Hey,
Mr. Rose,
how are you?
pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Bjarke Ingels is here. At just 40 years old, he has established himself as one of the world's most inventive and sought-after architects. Earlier this week, it was announced that he will design the fourth tower at the World Trade Center. I am pleased to have him at this table for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you.
Prøv at se her, det er min gamle Irma, der jeg arbejdede. Mit første job, det var, at jeg gik med det grønne område, lokalaviser og reklamer på den her rute. Så jeg arbejdede i pølsemanden nede på havnen. Så arbejdede jeg ved Vedbæk Supermarked. Så jeg lavede desserter og vasket op på Strandmøllen. Så jeg gjorde rent ind på Hovedbanegården. Så jeg arbejder på plejehjem, tørret numse på gamle mennesker. Så har jeg gået med post. Altså mit klart værste job nogensinde. Det var sådan nogle statistikinterview for Gallup. Hold kæft, mand. Fordi altså, når du går med avis, eller går med post, eller også sådan arbejder som flaskedreng, eller så har du trods alt friheden, at dine tanker er dine egne. Men som telefoninterviewer, jeg følte nærmest, at jeg var misbrugt, at man bare sådan ligesom kobler fra. Altså, fordi ikke engang dine tanker er dine egne. Altså, det er jo vanvittigt.
Hej. Hej, så.
Kom lige til solnedgang.
Jeg nye sko.
Sikke nogle dumsmarte sko.
Hvad med dine?
Jamen, de er for fede.
Ja.
Det er meget sjovt, den er blevet sindssygt flot, den her græsplæne.
Jamen, den er blevet meget flot. Den har aldrig været så flot før.
Den har jo stadigvæk så meget fine sådan nogle farveskift. Altså det der med at have sit eget lille stykke natur, og netop også den der udsigt med søen og alt det der. Altså det er der et eller andet med.
Min forældres hus har et fladt tag. Det er sådan et klassisk 60'er modernistisk hus. Fordi det ligger og putter sig ind i den her høj, så for højen kunne jeg ligesom springe over og få fat i tagkanten, og så kunne jeg komme op på taget, og fordi det var et fladt tag, så kunne man ligesom rende rundt deroppe. Lige indtil min far fik øje på mig, og min kammerat, og vi ligesom fik skilt ud over, at vi jo ikke måtte kravle rundt på taget, altså vi ødelagde taget, og han var selvfølgelig også bange for, at vi faldt ned og slog os, men det var jo tydeligt for mig, at det var jo altså kæmpe spild, at der var det der fede tag, som man kunne kravle rundt på, hvor der var en fed udsigt. Altså det var på en eller anden måde urimeligt, og i hvert fald spild af ressourcer. Og det tror jeg måske er noget, der ligesom næsten har forfulgt mig i alt, hvad vi har lavet med vores arkitektur. Det er jo meget sjovere at tegne huse, hvor man gerne må gå på taget, eller hvor man skal gå på taget, eller hvor man gerne må stå på ski på taget. Jo mere glæde vi får ud af de kvadratmeter, jo mere fri udfoldelse for menneskeliv og alle mulige andre former for liv. Og det er helt klart der, hvor arkitekturen kan gøre en forskel.
Du kan ikke sætte smør her. Ja. Får du sol i øjnene, Bjarke? Skal jeg trykke her?
Jeg nyder det. Jeg tror faktisk, at når man er dansker, så tror jeg, at den følelse at blive blændet, eller sådan har jeg det. Det der med at få solen i øjnene, det føles næsten som sådan en eller anden form for lykkefølelse.
Ja, det er acceptabelt, ikke?
Altså hvor man, hvis man oplevede det hele tiden, ville det være pisseirriterende.
Ja.
Men jeg synes, at sådan, jeg associerer det altid med et eller andet utroligt behageligt. Jeg har snakket meget om dobbeltsolen, men jeg har aldrig fået dokumenteret den.
Vi fandt ret hurtigt ud af, da Bjarke var kun 1,5 år gammel, at han var anderledes end andre børn. Fordi når han så film, så fattede han dem fuldstændig, selvom de var på udenlandsk. Og så var der også det der sjove ved, at man så der aldrig lave lektier.
Jamen, jeg var sådan rimelig god til det hele, faktisk.
Er du ikke så god til fodbold, vel?
Nej, måske ikke til fodbold. Det gad jeg til gengæld heller ikke.
Skulle du ikke have en med kos på?
Nej, tak.
Bjarke blev færdig, og så videre, så videre. Så snakkede han bare om, at han skulle lave tegneserie. Og han ville gerne ind på et eller andet bureau. Og det viste sig at være fuldstændig umuligt. Man skulle kende bureauerne. Og så tænkte vi kan altså ikke have den gut liggende. Nu har han været til fest 30 gange. Det går ikke. Så Knud han udfyldte papirerne, og så en af de morgener, eller midt på dagen, tror jeg, hvor Bjarke var nogenlunde, der fik han besked på at skrive under. Og så gik der jo de der 6-8 uger, eller hvad meget det er. Og så viste det sig, at der kom et brev om, at Bjarke han var optaget på arkitektskolen. Og så sagde han, han skulle ikke på arkitektskolen, fordi han ville lave tegneserier. Og så sagde vi, du kan da starte med at gå ind og se, hvad det er. Og så siger jeg til ham, du kan da bare gå derind den første uge, og så se, hvad det er.
The greatest thing about being an architect is to build buildings. There is nothing more amazing than building buildings. Like, it's that you conceive of something, you try to imagine what kind of a city it is that you would want to live in, what kind of a world it is you want to live in, and then you build it brick by brick. To see abstract ideas become concrete reality is all it's about. And when you're building a building or designing a building, you have the chance to realize in the world something that has never before existed in the world. You can create the most sort of unlikely combinations. You can put a ski slope on top of a power plant. And just because you did it, then now that becomes how the world is. Amager Bakke, or CopenHill, is essentially a power plant that turns waste into electricity and district heating. It's going to be the cleanest waste-to-energy power plant in the world. So we thought, how could we completely change people's understanding of what a power plant is? How could we create something extraordinary out of the ordinary? So when this power plant is gone, it's going to be the tallest building in the whole city. And we basically knew exactly how the power plant was going to work, what kind of machinery would go into it. So we basically decided sort of, why don't we simply design it in such a way that it actually becomes a gigantic man-made mountain. And also because Copenhagen, or Denmark, is a cold climate, we actually have lots of snow. But because we have no mountains, there's no skiing. So we imagined that the roof could actually be a black, a blue, and a green ski slope. So suddenly the Copenhageners actually have alpine skiing in the heart of the city. It's going to be twice the length of an Olympic halfpipe. It's also going to have the tallest climbing wall in the world, where the Copenhageners can climb on 100 meters of vertical fun. And then we thought sort of to take this, the final step, you can say typically, the chimneys on a factory are normally like the symbol of the unwanted side effect of our way of life. So we thought, like, what if, in this case, that the chimney could be a completely new kind of symbol? So we designed the chimney in such a way that it actually, at regular intervals, puffs a gigantic ring of steam. You can almost say that it's almost like my childhood desires of walking on the roof realized at the scale of an entire city, where it's actually amazing for the citizens, because then now suddenly what used to be a power plant becomes a public park.
Right now we have like two serious problems, and one of them is that ARC is not really committed to not having found a feasible solution of how to do the smoke rings.
Yeah.
When you build a factory that's full of fire and you insure it so it's worth 4 billion, if it burns down, somebody has to pay 4 billion. So if you're tampering with one of their most important mechanisms where they get the heat out, you're really tampering with something that might increase the price that they have to pay in order to get insured. And they're really afraid of that.
Yeah, of course, like, since it's not been done before, there's an unknown risk. If we don't do it, this project is not going to happen. Nobody wants it, nobody asked for it.
I mean, one of the main problems, of course, is that we've come up with something where there's basically no client.
I think on one hand, it's important that we don't force anyone into a situation where they have to say yes or no. Because I mean, I think if this goes up to even a political decision, there's too much uncertainty, and then we're almost like guaranteed a no, and then the whole project lost. So I think somehow we have to come up with some like almost general strategy of how we deal with these things, because I mean, what excites us and what we always end up doing is somehow to bring to the table something that was not asked for. Because if we're only doing what we asked for, then we're gonna be like all other architects. Then we're just gonna try to make what has already been, proposed in the prettiest possible way. And of course we want to do that, but what we want to do even more is we want to make what has not been proposed, we want to give to the world something that the world has not yet seen, and therefore it doesn't fit into any of the boxes. So we have to somehow become better at this.
I virkeligheden så er der en ting i det her. Nu gør vi alverdens kunster for at lave øjringen. Øjringen er fed, men hvis man ikke er i stand til at lave den, så kunne man have en anden hændelse, som var visuelt smuk.
Der var bare, altså det sjove ved røgringen er, at den har det der element af, at det er forbundet med nydelse. Forstår du, hvad jeg mener?
Ja. Jamen,
at når morfar han sidder og blæser røgringen, så er det fordi, han har det så fucking godt.
Men lad os lige kigge på, hvad din morfar så gør, når han gør det. Hvad gjorde jeg galt her?
Jeg står bag ved Peter. Der er nok en grund til, at han sidder der.
Er vi klar? 3, 2, 1, 0. Det der, det er en damprøgring, så kan jeg altså grine af mig, men det er det faktisk, det er derfor den overlever så langt.
Ja.
Det var fandme magi, og jeg havde aldrig troet det, hvis ikke jeg havde set det med mine øjne.
Nej, det er det. Det var fandme magisk.
Vi skal have løst en opgave, som i forvejen er rimelig kompliceret, og som er meget mere, forstår mig ret nu, end at kun tegne de rigtige streger. Og få det hele til at passe sammen der.
Vi har været en anelse frustreret over, at vi måske ikke synes, at de krav, der var til funktionen, blev lidt underlagt nogle ydre krav til, hvordan den passede ind i omgivelserne. Og for os er det ret vigtigt, at den der funktion, den lever op til det, der er behov for.
Diskussionen her handler om, hvad kan vi overhovedet gøre inden for mulighedens grænser? En ting er, når man kigger på idéen, den er jo brilliant, fantastisk idé, sindssyg idé, typisk dansk idé. Vi har aldrig fået den i Sverige. Men når man så begynder at løfte på den og kigger ned i maskinen på, hvad det er og ting og sager, ikke? Hold kæft, man.
Det er det projekt, vi har vundet i en international arkitektkonkurrence med en dommerkomité og så videre. At der så kommer nogle yderligere udfordringer, end der normalt er, så er det, mener jeg, bare en teknisk problemstilling, som man er nødt til at løse, ligesom at vi har været nødt til at løse 117 andre problemer, eller udfordringer, som også opstår, når man gør tingene anderledes.
Der skal noget mere styr på det. Der har vi helt klart, der skal vi nå frem til noget, der gør os alle sammen tilfredse.
Det der eneste, der betyder noget, det er jo det, der bliver bygget til sidst. Det vil jo være en total katastrofe for os, hvis det, som er vores hovedværk, slet ikke bliver til noget. På grund af, det vil være helt, totalt forfærdeligt. As an architect, you have to celebrate 1,000 victories before a project is complete. And when you fought like all the battles and you've won every single one of them, then the project can be realized. And it only takes a single defeat, and then the entire project dies. The Danish Maritime Museum in the city of Elsinore is located right next to Hamlet's castle, Kronborg. So the only place where the museum could fit, so it wouldn't sort of obstruct the views of the castle, was actually in this old dry dock where they used to build ships. So we basically came up with this idea that instead of filling the dock with museum, to actually put the entire museum around the dock, underground, looking into the dock. So the dock becomes a gigantic courtyard. So suddenly the architecture becomes this sort of radical act of sort of preservation and reinterpretation. This triggered a little bit of a of a drama because the brief clearly said that the only place you were allowed to build was inside the dock. What we do is actually building everywhere around the dock, and the only place we don't build is actually inside the dock. Of course, all the other architects had put their museum designs inside the dock. And when they saw our winning proposal, they said, hey, that's cheating. How come we have to follow the rules and these guys get to cheat? If we knew we could do that, then we could have also put the museum around the dock and we could have also won. So we've now sort of won our first big museum. And suddenly there's like lawyers and threats of lawsuits. So after a lot of battle, we finally end up with a compromise where the client actually acknowledged that we had done something wrong, but they still were allowed to pursue and build our building. Man plejer at kalde arkitektur en gentleman-sport, fordi at man bliver bedre til det med alderen. Men man bliver altså også ældre efterhånden, som man følger sådan et projekt. Da vi fik konkurrenceprogrammet, der havde vi lige startet vores tegnestue Big, og jeg var 31 år gammel. Næste gang så fylder jeg 40. Så man kan smarte mig at sige, det er det her, jeg har brugt mine 30'ere på. Og her i dag, så kunne jeg simpelthen ikke forestille mig noget som helst, som jeg hellere ville have brugt al den tid på. Tak. Den er lidt for kort, ikke?
Jo, den er.
Han skriver så mere som en journalist. Altså, det er meget neutralt, ikke?
Jo, men jeg synes, i forhold til, at det er sådan en 6-stjernet anmeldelse, så kunne man godt have svælget lidt mere i det.
Det kan godt have heddet et fantastisk hul i jorden.
Men jeg tror,
ligesom, han er meget sådan på, det er fint, og det er godt.
Altså, han giver det jo 6 hjerter for helvede.
So, it's only to say that, like, the awards, again, is something we get about half of the ones that we apply for.
That's amazing.
You know, the last few ones, the Red Dot Award, the best of the best, the ULI Award of Excellence. We're a finalist for the Financial Times City Awards. It's all, I mean, you guys are all smiling. I don't know, I mean, it is so difficult to get one of these. It's crazy. And as a final note, the question for me to you guys is, do you feel like we're in the right markets? Do you want to go to other markets?
I think the strategy is to strengthen Scandinavia and North America. Yeah. And like almost not spend any energy on running after opportunities anywhere else. But when opportunities find us, we can see acquisitions, you know.
Are we limiting ourselves too much? Are we being too big for our britches if we...
No, like Denmark is a different case, but...
No, but I think if you have the 4 parameters, I would say if it's a museum, I don't care where it is. Exactly. If it's a concert house or anything.
Bjarke, anywhere you go, we can get work. That is a fact. Anywhere you go, we can get work.
Yeah, so then I would much rather stay in America.
But then the problem is that you have to come back, right? If we get work.
Yeah, exactly.
So, ja, vi er alle sammen nødt til at gå. Ja. To me, the Sydney Opera is probably the ultimate building. It's sort of extremely unique, the sort of landmark location on the waterfront of Sydney. It's actually become synonymous with an entire continent, Australia. So, and I think it's actually the most recognizable building in the world. Like, of course, when you see it, you instantly think, this is Sydney, it's a Sydney Opera. You know exactly where you are. And I think what's what's amazing about it is that on one hand, it's sort of unapologetically modern, but it also draws on all these sort of more archaic building types. You know, it almost like resembles Gothic vaults with the shells. It's drawing on references to Chinese pagodas, these sort of light organic elements sort of elevated on a podium. Also, it's sort of Aztec temples, you know, this idea that in the middle of the jungle, you suddenly have these elevated podia upon which you build the actual temples. So it draws on this whole world of really, really fundamental archetypical architecture and reinterprets it in a completely unique way. And it was actually also born out of incredible misery. Like Jan Utzon moved to Australia with his whole family, and after sort of a bit more than a decade, he actually gets fired from the job and is sent back to Denmark. The building actually ends up being completed without him. It went sort of 10 times over budget, so everything was a disaster. But the final result is somehow worth all of the sacrifice and all of the hardship in order to get there. For anyone waiting for the moment where, you know, waiting for your Sydney Opera and working towards your own Sydney Opera is, I think, what any architect ever dreams of. Denmark is obviously a very small country. Also, the buildings are quite small. It's like impossible to build a skyscraper in a city where all the buildings are 5 stories tall. So, you know, I've met this New York real estate developer who's actually right now building the One World Trade Center, the tallest skyscraper in the Americas. And he's somehow interested in our way of working. So, of course, to get a chance to contribute to the skyline of all skylines of New York City is an amazing opportunity that I have to take super seriously. So at this point in my life, I am gonna move to America and I'm gonna open up an office in New York City. Det er den store havfrue. Det er simpelthen Bæks nye reol. Det er sådan lidt ideen om, at der ligesom skal være sådan et vindue mellem de 2 tegnestuer, som altid skal stå åbent. Sådan så at selvom vi er på begge sider af Atlanten, så er der altid kontakt. Thank you. I'd like to welcome you, your Royal Highnesses, to the Big Apple headquarters. And I hope you have a great stay here. And if you're gonna feel half as welcome as we have felt coming here, you're gonna have a wonderful week. So cheers, everybody. So that's pretty impressive. Every 2 weeks, you tour the site, the whole group.
Yep.
What's this kill box?
Read your eyes.
Oh my God.
Guess for his eyes.
That's very Minority Report-esque.
So how have you been?
Good. We're basically in this situation that October 1st, both the entire Copenhagen office is moving into a new space and the New York office is expanding. It's like a total mess. Ja, it's amazing. Vi er på 101. etage i One World Trade Center, som bliver Nord- og Sydamerikas højeste hus. Og også når man kigger rundt omkring, så kan man se, at selvom downtown Manhattan er fuld af skyskraber, så ligger de jo alle sammen dernede lige nu. Det er ret absurd.
I met Dr. Sturst at a conference where he was talking about sustainable high-rises. And now we've started having this conversation about a site on the west side of Manhattan where we are going to try to make the sort of unlikely combination of something archetypically Scandinavian and something archetypically American. We call it Scandimerican, which is essentially to try to combine the social space of the courtyard with the density of the skyscraper, what we call the Courtscraper. It's, an amazing opportunity. It's visible from all over the Hudson River. It's really could potentially be an entire landmark on the skyline of the most epic of skylines in the world. So if you look at Manhattan, it's basically this sort of piece of bedrock floating on the Hudson, and it's full of city blocks. At the heart of this sort of extremely dense urban environment, you have this oasis, Central Park. And our site is right here on the west side of the river. What if we could take this amazing idea of the urban oasis, of the entire scale of Manhattan, and boil it down to a single city block? So our idea is to say, this is our site. What if we combine the communal space of the Copenhagen Courtyard and crossbreed it with the qualities and the density of the American skyscraper, the amazing views, the amount of people living together in the same place. And basically, the result becomes this sort of twisted Courtscraper. You still have the park where the residents can come out and play. Sort of the sun falls into the courtyard all day. People can actually enjoy the views of the Hudson River, both from the courtyard itself and from their apartments. And in this sort of warped surface, we start having these huge terraces. The biggest ones are shared, but then the smaller ones are actually for the individuals living there. And as a result,
you can imagine the skyline of Manhattan suddenly is gonna get this sort of striking new silhouette, unlike anything that the city of Manhattan's ever seen. The material of this warped surface is gonna be bead blasted stainless steel. So this like kind of soft, bright material that actually sort of is gonna show off the double curvature of this kind of unique form, and eventually could become almost like a beacon on the waterfront of the Hudson River.
We thought it was a tremendous risk, not having worked in New York before, and actually not having worked in the United States before, I think, right? It was a huge risk, but that we are entrepreneurs, and that means we're risk takers. Bjarke is not unique, I'm sorry, Bjarke. And Bjarke is willing to listen. We've had architects who simply refuse to take direction. I've had an architect say, I'm putting my pencil down. That's it. Bjarke does not have a fragile ego, luckily.
In the end, it's going to be Douglas's and the Durst building. So if it's not the building, it's not the building that Douglas wants, it's not going to happen. So like in that sense, there's also somehow this, like I'm interested in trying to find the best possible iteration of the building that Douglas wants.
When I started in the business, the family always built the same building they built before because they knew the mistakes and they learned how to live with them. But we try and make new mistakes.
Også prøv at se Empire State Building, hvor sindssygt det er. So what's you're saying it's going to take 3 months to clear the whole site? Is that the entire excavation, or is that purely the removal of the contaminated soil?
That's the entire preparation for the foundation. So it's the removal of all the contaminated soil and removal of any soil that's not contaminated, but just sort of needs to be removed for the purpose of putting in the foundation. So far, so good.
That's good. The building maintenance unit is running on rails here. So it's being the window cleaner is almost like being having a roller coaster ride. And then they can actually go down along these lines. Yeah, so this is a little bit like how things go down when.
How do you sleep at night? How do you turn your creative mind off?
I'd say I sleep like a baby, actually. It's having, in a way, the patience and the confidence that each situation has a unique set of potentials.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hell if you get the wrong foot out of the bed and you try to make something that it's not.
Yeah.
But once you sort of discover what could or should this project be all about, then things just flow completely naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, the alternative would have something like this. No, but I think if they do it like this, it also becomes more and more like a mysterious symbol, like a kind of a Dan Brown novel. And then maybe there is some kind of a spiraling thing.
Maglev trains are constantly changing their magnetics so that the train is moving.
For the things that would potentially start in November, that would be the Samsung Pavilion at the Rio Olympics. This is on the first page. And then there's this potential Miami Port Terminal competition.
Oh, the guys, we did the
cruise ship. The cruise ship.
Oh, that would be amazing.
So then if we're talking about, if we do something in November, that would mean not doing the Samsung Pavilion in Rio.
I think we should do both.
Spørg om ikke der findes en eller anden, vi kan snakke om.
Oh. Det ser ret uhyggeligt ud. Altså, er fra mig selv. Det er da så fint. Tusind tak. Hvad skriver han? Speech. to all of the Bjarkes in Copenhagen, do you hear anything? You all look wonderful, and you still all look very young. And trust me, turning 40 sounds like an unlikely thing to happen to you, but it will happen. And you can rest assured that the alternative is even worse. Jeg fik en hjernerystelse her. Jeg fik et boldtræ i ansigtet. På Bjarke Ingels. Og så fik jeg så ondt i hovedet, at jeg troede, jeg skulle dø, simpelthen. Altså sådan, at det var, altså, det sang. Og det var sådan, når jeg lærer mig til at, altså jeg har aldrig oplevet noget. Altså, det var som om, at mit hoved skulle eksplodere. Og sådan de næste 3 dage, der havde jeg bare, altså sådan så, at det dunkede. Og så har jeg bare haft sådan, mere eller mindre sådan ondt i hovedet. Så altså, der er vist et eller andet med det der med hjernerystelse. Altså, man skal ligesom prøve at slappe så meget af, man overhovedet kan. Men det er jo ret svært, ikke? Altså, det er også svært at slappe af med hjernen, havde han sagt. Altså, det er jo ligesom nemt nok ikke at dyrke motion, men ikke at tænke. Det er næsten umuligt. Så tænker jeg, at det kan være, at man skal undersøge det. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Altså han sagde, altså han undersøgte mig bare sådan, hvad han nu kunne gøre der. Han sagde, sandsynligheden for, at vi fandt noget, var ret lille. Altså, men han synes nu alligevel, det var en god idé at få taget de der forskellige MRA og MRI. Så får man jo altså nogle flotte billeder af sin hjerne, og ikke andet. Men altså... jeg fik altså også bare nøje af dengang, hvor jeg fik hjernerystelse. Altså fordi... Altså hvis din hjerne strækker... Altså jeg vil næsten hellere miste en arm. End ikke at kunne bruge sit hoved. Det er helt frygteligt.
Jeg begynder at redegøre for, hvorfor at vi har fået så kedeligt et resultat i Big København. Altså helt klart det primære problem, synes jeg, har været, at der ikke har været omsætning nok. Det har ikke været omkostninger. Jo, det har også været et problem. Men det primære problem har været, at der ikke har været omsætning nok. Og det er altså ikke kun wins i år. Det er jo wins, der skulle have været der sidste år.
Altså der mangler også et navn på det her, og det er Bjarke. Det er jo vores største udfordring. Det er, at folk tror, at de skal have Bjarke. Og når du forelæser bare ikke lige så meget i Danmark og Skandinavien, og, som du gør i USA. Du rejser ikke lige så meget ud og møder bygherren og får en anden opgave med hjem. Og, altså, det er her, du skaffer opgaverne.
Jo, men altså... men det er vi simpelthen nødt til at gøre noget ved. Altså, jeg tror...
Altså, er det en del af forklaringen? Så bare med i forklaringen.
Altså, I ved det bedre end jeg, for jeg sidder ikke og kigger på, hvor meget Bjarke han bidrager til hver eneste ting, vi vinder, og hvor lidt han bidrager til dem, vi taber.
Det er noget, vi simpelthen er nødt til at kigge på.
Ja.
Der er en del, der hviler på mine skuldre på den måde, at... Altså, det er svært at nå dertil, hvor tingene bliver, som de skal være, uden at man selv gør det. Og der er sådan kommet rigtig langt på mange punkter, men der er også rigtig mange punkter, hvor vi overhovedet ikke er kommet spor langt. Så sidste uge tabte vi så sådan en interviewkonkurrence om at tegne et museum upstate, hvor deres forklaring var, at de var sådan lidt nervøse for, om jeg havde tid. Og jeg tror, det er fordi, de var sådan nervøse for, om resten af organisationen var stærk nok, hvis ikke jeg havde tid til at være der.
Lower. It's like this hammerhead thing. 2 floors here.
But it's also a question, Bjarke, if you feel more comfortable having the west side lower, we can still say
steps and then use it, but
nobody wants it.
No one will buy it. It would be nice for it.
I've been told
retail doesn't
Close to get as hard as possible, especially if we go into this option where we add turnstiles here. So you have the circulation to go into the core and the circulation.
One way is to make it smaller. Especially if you make it narrow, it helps a lot.
Circulation to go into the core and circulation.
Yeah, for the narrow, so
Just take it one.
It seems to be one of the ironies of the world is that the architects that had the most innovative ideas often end up being the ones that had the most petrifying impact on architecture, at least the way that they became misunderstood by others. If you take a look at Le Corbusier, he started out like this wild revolutionary. He took some outdated values and created new ones. But eventually he also became the grandfather of modernism. And in a way he built a stylistic prison that was even more sort of petrifying than the one he replaced. And then he ended up drowning. And there's actually a lot of examples of like some of the greatest architects that had really alternative ideas and were about to really change the world, ended up dying from unnatural causes. It happened in Manhattan. Gaudí, the great Catalan architect, he had this plan for a grand hotel that was going to be built on the site that eventually became the World Trade Center site. It was like this radical alternative to the typical American skyscraper, and if it would have been built, it could really have changed the world that not only New York looks, but the whole world looks. But he never built it because he got hit by a tram and died. The great American architect, Louis Kahn, also didn't finish some of his last works. He was found dead on the men's room in the Penn Station. Carlo Scarpa, the great Italian architect, he fell down a flight of stairs and broke his neck and died. Eero Saarinen, probably my favorite American architect, he died from complications after brain surgery at the age of only 51. So somehow you really need to lay some bricks while you're here, or the building you're building now could be your last. I hate it. I hate it. Like, this is not happening. It's like, it's so institutional. It looks like some like lame ass conference center for the Social Democrats in somewhere like in northern Jutland. Like, that is never gonna happen. I said I could live with black. Like, it can't be the blue. I'm sorry. I thought we had like a little bit of a good thing going.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck did you show it?
That's my fault because I kind of liked it, but we'll...
I mean,
let's take it out.
And why did they even get that choice? I think in general we should not show options.
But if they ask specifically for alternatives, then what are we supposed to do?
Give them two that are both nice. When can we close this? Is there a deadline?
I mean, I think we're finishing very soon.
Have we set a date? We have to set a date. Like, don't we have in our budget a schedule that says, you know, there's no more money for anyone after this date?
There is a schedule that basically by March, everything has to be done.
Which date?
April 1st.
Okay, but then I think we have to sort of say that at that point, we're not going to change
anything. No, we can't.
Not even a pattern on a wallpaper. Yeah, but like, we need to get on with our lives.
Yeah. But I think in terms of...
I think the few times I've participated, we've done a little bit better in terms of like... but then of course, like but then I don't show up to the next meeting and then things get bad again. That's why I think we have to make sort of like a final meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that me?
How are you?
I mean, silver looks totally great.
Yeah. But they have like different ones over there. What's the back side?
That's the front. There's nothing metal about it. It's great.
It's okay.
It's like living in a great building. Like, if I saw someone who had done this, I would like hate them. Hey, how's it going?
Doing well.
You guys are not wearing helmets? Hey, that's like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
How are you?
Hey, we're good.
You're one to talk.
So, you took the...
Hey, Jody, how are you?
Good.
Hi. Hey, Jody.
We have a few suggestions.
Uh-huh.
How are you?
I'm fit and finished and that type of stuff.
I think our biggest thing is when we saw it, it looks a little bit gray, right?
What?
It's the only thing. Maybe the most important thing.
Which is what?
I think that it looks very gray. We had a hope that it would look more silver. Like, this is one of the things we were going for in the beginning.
Isn't it just a difference in color that you're suggesting, or it sounds like you're suggesting more than that?
No, it's actually just but it's a difference in color in the sense that it's not a paint. It's also that it is, like according to our sustainability lady, a better product.
How do you repair anodized if it gets scratched?
They say to a certain extent it's supposed to be self-healing, but you know, if you get a real scratch.
But I think it might not show as much as a real scratch will show on, because it's the same material.
It really looks like.
Fucking lort. Det er rigtig dårligt. Der er simpelthen for mange kompromiser. Altså det er bare, det er overhovedet ikke det der, jeg har lyst til at bygge. Altså det er, jeg har en filosofi, som hedder, vi bygger aldrig nogensinde noget, hvor det er malede overflader udvendigt. Fordi det patinerer grimt. Eller det patinerer ikke, det ligner bare maling, ikke? Det er ligesom postulatet er, at det ligner det samme. Og faktum er, at det gør det overhovedet ikke. Det der, det ligner bare sådan en grå, død lortebygning, altså. Ej. Jamen, det her det er så fra Lenox Hill Radiology and Medical Imaging Associates, som lavede den her hjernescanning. Og grundlæggende så står der ligesom,
at der er en masse ting, de ikke har fundet. Men det de har fundet, det er, at der er en lille cyste i den højre side af hjernen. Altså, de siger, at det er noget, som er 0,5 gange 0,7 gange 0,4 centimeter stort. Det vil sige, det er noget, der er så stort, ikke? Men altså, hvad fanden vil jeg? Pis. Også fordi, hvis det er helt andet, altså, så skal man skære hul i kraniet og ind og fikse noget og sådan noget. Det tænker jeg, det overgår jeg sgu. Eller det vil jeg selvfølgelig gøre. Men det er sådan noget rigtig lort.
Sir, how's it going? Thanks. Arigato.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if you're unable to work for more like an hour or two, and then you get so bad headaches that you have to lie down and rest. Then that basically makes you unable to do any of the things you've always been working towards, all of the things you've dreamt of. And I'm 40 now, and you know, in very basic terms, you want to say, this is what I've been able to do in the first 40 years of my life, and probably I should be able to do roughly the same in the second half. But and you know, at this point, and you know, I would almost say that life is probably progressive rather than proportional. So let's say if these are the first 40 years of my life, this is what I'll be able to do, then all of this is all the stuff I won't be able to do. And if this is where I suddenly become unable to function, then, you know, it's almost like you won't be able to contribute meaningfully And if that's what's happening now, then it feels like you almost just could sort of lie down and wait for the time to pass and everything to be over. You know, on one hand, we wanted it to be part of the memorial. It's like the last tower that's missing. It has to somehow be part of a brotherhood of towers that frame the memorial. On the other hand, we would also want it to feel part of Tribeca. So maybe consider it almost like a vertical village of Tribeca blocks.
I think what I really like about what you did is that it's not just, you know, it's not just the volume and the size of the building, but it's the way it's articulated urbanistically, you know, particularly from the south, you know, from not just from the south, but from the north, from the east. It has a very, very interesting profile, and I think it's going to set a good new standard. That the profile of a building is very important. It's not just how big it is, how high it is.
Yeah.
So I think you did a fantastic job on this. Really, I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
Thank you.
Really, very impressed. Okay, congratulations.
It's an honor.
No, fantastic job. And we want to see it.
The site of the World Trade Center is, of course, unique because of its symbolical significance because of the events of 9/11. But it's also unique urbanistically because it's actually located in the encounter between the skyscrapers of the financial district and the more traditional, almost like European scale of the Tribeca neighborhood with the city blocks and the streets with parks. So we thought, what if we could actually use the last building at the World Trade Center site as a way to weave the two neighborhoods together? We sort of imagined making a tower that consists of a series of blocks stacked on top of each other. They have like little parks and plazas all the way up. From one angle, it actually sort of expands a little bit towards the top. On the other angle, it is actually getting smaller and smaller, almost like a giant staircase to heaven. You can almost say like the south tip of Manhattan is probably the closest thing to building on the main stage where the entire world can see.
I saw you on that video. I said, standing at the corner.
We had a great meeting with Daniel.
Oh, good.
It couldn't have gone better.
Perfect.
So I think it's a good start.
Good. I'm good. It's okay. We're off and running.
This is a site that has like great meaning for so many people. That you somehow have to find the right balance between commemorating what happened here in a respectful way, but also, you know, making sure that the living city of New York gets a place to keep being the lively city that it is.
When we first got together and I looked at Tower 2, my first reaction was that this building was going to fall over. So I said, let me think about this. I gotta ponder this a little bit. And I remember going home and looking myself in the mirror and saying, Silverstein, it's time you became more flexible. As you're getting older, you're getting more rigid, you're getting more inflexible. It's time you began to lighten up, loosen up, and listen to what others are saying to you, especially when it comes to a field they know and understand very well. But I must add, you have a flow of creativity, of creative juices that is nothing short of remarkable. You also have a terrific team with you of people who want to excel and are striving for excellence at the highest possible level. So working with you, working with your team, I found to be an extremely fascinating and enjoyable experience.
Det er de projekter, vi har i gang i nu, som kommer til at stå færdigt om 5, 6 eller 7 år. Ikke? Så jeg tror også, jeg begynder ligesom at tænke, vi skal også virkelig fokusere på, at der er noget af det her, der skal blive til noget hurtigt. Fordi altså i sidste instans som arkitekt, så har du altså kun en 20 eller 30 bygninger i ærmet, og så løber du tør for tid. Jeg vil sige, i forhold til hvad jeg har nået med arkitektur, så føler jeg sådan set, at det ser ret fornuftigt ud. Det jeg sådan mere tænkte, det var, jeg havde sgu nok regnet med, at jeg havde familie og børn, når jeg fyldte 40. Altså, da jeg var 15 eller 20, havde jeg nok tænkt det, ikke? Så det var mere det, jeg tænkte. Så det var sådan lidt sjovt at være sådan lidt på bar bund med kærligheden, når man fylder 40. Altså, det var sådan lidt irriterende. Og nu er jeg selvfølgelig nyforelsket, men jeg vil sige, at jeg er ret sikker på, at grunden til, at jeg starter med at sige, altså grunden til, at jeg ikke er kommet længere i mit familieliv, er simpelthen, at jeg først har mødt hende nu. Ruth er hende, den søde spanske pige, som bor her i huset, som flyttede til New York for 2 måneder siden, og flyttede ind på den her byggeplads, som jeg stadigvæk ikke har fået lavet færdig. Jeg har fået nogle af mine venner, som er sådan smykkehandlere til at kigge efter forlovelsesringen. Det sjove er, at den eneste grund til, at jeg ikke har fået det er, fordi jeg ikke har kunnet finde ud af, hvad det var for en ring, hun skulle have. Det er jo en dårlig grund til ikke at blive gift. Hey, baby.
We're doing it now in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was panicking. How's it going?
Good. It's looking good.
It's nice, huh? I think it's gonna go fast now. Welcome home.
Thank you.
prøve. Hvorfor skal man ind i, hvorfor skal hele kroppen ind i det der rør?
Fordi dit hoved skal ligge inde i midten, og så er resten af kroppen til at få den.
Ej, det er fedt. Jeg siger højt.
Ja, det synes jeg fedt. Sådan. Så kører vi indenfor. Der du skal ligge, er det okay? Jamen, træk lige vejret. Jeg kører dig lige ud igen.
Jeg kører lige ud igen. Jeg tror lige, det gør nok klart.
Jamen, det er helt okay.
Hvad er
Det er ikke unormalt.
Er du sindssyg? Skal man virkelig så langt ind?
Ja, det skal man også.
Vi giver de 2 minutter. Vi kan se om... altså, er du sindssyg?
Ja.
Altså, jeg har intet, der ligner højdeskræk, men jeg har helt klart noget, der mere lidt om klart som det.
Okay, Bjarke.
Okay, vi gør det.
Sådan, så kommer de 2 første rigtige undersøgelser her. Den første, den var i 2 minutter, og den næste var i 3 minutter.
Hey, baby. Good morning. How's it going? So, you know that I was gonna check up after that concussion that they found this thing in my brain. So I did the MRI this morning, and everything is perfectly normal according to age, whatever that means. But at least it looks like I'm not gonna die from a brain tumor one of the next days. Exactly. Yeah, so you're gonna have to stick with me a little bit longer. Okay, baby? Yes. I'll see you later today. Ciao, amor. Ciao. The funny thing is, theoretically, now roughly half the courtyard is in shade, I think, right? It's this. But just because, you know, it's already lit up here, you come in here and this feels more like a forest. And then it becomes more and more like a park. I think this is going to be this paddle pond for the kids. We built a whole facade mock-up, and it was like painted aluminum mullions, painted aluminum facades. But then, what we ended up, we actually won the battles, so that in the end, all the mullions are actually anodized.
Over the past decade, Bjarke Ingels has emerged as a major creative force in world architecture. Rem Koolhaas writes that Bjarke is the first major architect who disconnected the profession completely from angst. He threw out the ballast and soared. And with that, he is completely in tune with the thinkers of Silicon Valley who want to make the world a better place. According to Time magazine, he is one of the 100 most influential people in the world today.
Thank you, sir. Anything else for you, sir?
No. Skal se her. How far are you from being done?
7 minutes.
Fantastic. Baby, can you tie a bow tie? No. Maybe I'm gonna try to go down and see if some of the guys in the reception can.
Okay.
Stop talking and start tying. Can you tie a bow tie? Yeah? No.
Sorry.
It's impossible. Impossible to do. Also, it's impossible to do without. Do you have a mirror? No. Hey, baby. Let's see this guy. I'm gonna leave this with you.
That's a good way.
Yeah, we do it in the car.
All right, good luck, thanks. Sorry, Bjork.
It's a beautiful dress, baby. You look beautiful.
Okay, I think it's there.
I love it. Thank you, baby.
That's so funny.
Oh, now we're just gonna relax. We should get drunk. You look beautiful. You look beautiful.